Hello, good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday, happy Sunday, depending on wherever you're joining from. It's always such a pleasure to introduce and say hello to a guest speaker, as well as all of you. I appreciate all the team members joining us today and all the participants joining us today. Um, I'm very excited about today's webinar, but before I talk about that, we're going to wait for a couple of minutes to see if a few more people trickle in. In the meantime, we're just going to talk a little bit about facts like we always do. Facts is a 501c3 nonprofit, as all of you know. So for all of those who are attending this webinar for the first time, Facts is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Our expertise and specialty is in the area of helping globally educated physical therapists go through the licensure and the credentialing process in the US. So if you're a global PT in any part of the world, if you have any questions about how to get started with your credentialing process in the US, what courses or what schools or what masters or TDPT program you should be selecting to make sure you're on the right track, and how to get licensed as a physical therapist in the US. If you have any questions about that, you can always feel free to reach out to us at any time. We have a huge team of physical therapists from different parts of the world. We are a nonprofit organization. Our board of directors include PhD professors. We have Dr. Bhupinder Singh joining us today, who is the president of FACTS. We have a lot of professors as well as clinicians, just like yourself. All of us are foreign trained physical therapists, so we're happy to assist you in every way possible. All righty, so I'm going to go ahead and we're going to get started with the main topic today. And give me 1 second. I just want to make sure we're good on the technical side of things. All righty. So I'm very excited to be introducing you to our guest speaker today. But before I even dive into that topic, let me talk to you about why we are presenting on this topic today. I think one of the most commonly asked questions that I get on Facebook, on our messenger group, or even like on via emails is that people usually ask for recommendations for master's program that kind of includes everything. So everybody is usually pretty much looking for a program that helps them with credentialing for licensure, a program that is accepted by the USCIS for their H-1B visa purposes, a program that offers OPT, and most of all, a program where you're not just focusing on the visa and the licensure issue, but it's actually a program which teaches you a lot of things and you really learn a lot of content. So hands down, the University of Pittsburgh Master's Program is one of them. And that's the reason we have our special guest speaker joining us today. The master's program offered by the University of Pittsburgh is the only MS program in the US that offers a specialization in either neuromuscular physical therapy, if you're a neuro nerd like me, or musculoskeletal physical therapy, if you're an ortho geek. And especially if your goal is to eventually become a board certified specialist in orthopedic physical therapy or a board certified specialist in neurologic physical therapy, I think this program definitely lays the foundation for it. So without further ado, let me introduce to you Dr. Susan Whitney. Dr. Whitney received her PhD in motor development and motor learning from the University of Pittsburgh and her professional physical therapy education from Temple University. She's a professor in the Department of Physical Therapy and Otolaryngology at University of Pittsburgh. Dr. Whitney is supported by the Department of Defense to develop technology for persons with vestibular disorders and mild brain injury. She has authored or co-authored 190 articles on Medline and was awarded the Holpike-Nyland Award, which recognizes outstanding clinical research achievement in vestibular medicine by the Baroness Society. Dr. Whitney was the first non-physician to receive this award. She's a world-renowned clinician, a researcher, a mentor, a board-certified neurologic physical therapist herself, and one of my favorite mentors who has introduced my clinical practice for sure. So Dr. Whitney, a huge and a very warm welcome.
Thank you so much. This is a real pleasure and honor to be here. It's early in the morning here in the United States, but it could be, gosh knows, any other time around the world. Now, I'm not sure what you're seeing. Can you see the regular slide?
It is the presenter mode, so we're good.
Oh, that's a bummer because that's not what I see. All right, let me try it again. Let's see. This is always such a journey. I think the same thing's going to happen. You don't see it now either, do you?
Yeah, this is perfect.
It is perfect. Oh, all
Yeah.
right. Okay. I'm not going to talk for long, but I am going to show you some slides because I'd like you to, at least if nothing else, you'll learn about what Pittsburgh looks like. So I am co-director of the Physical Therapy Post-Professional Master's Program, and Verinda didn't say this, but actually of our 40, I think there's 42 or 43 faculty, 6 of us are actually graduates of this program, including myself. So this is where I got my master's degree. I am a fellow of the American Physical Therapy Association. There's about, I think about 200 of us in the United States. I do treat and see patients on a weekly basis, and I share that in class all the time. So I have a joint appointment in the Department of Medicine and otolaryngology, and also in clinical and translational sciences. And my interests are really people who are dizzy, people who fall down, which is a lot of older adults, and concussion or mild brain injury. So those are all pretty hot topics, at least here in the United States right now. Now, Professor Timko is a fellow of the American Academy of Orthopedic Manual Physical Therapists. He's been trained by some of the best people in the world, including Dick Earhart. Very, very proud that Mike got to work with him over the years. And he lectures both locally, nationally, and internationally. Plus, he has in the past occasionally gotten calls from Saudi Arabia to come and treat very important people who fly him over, and he's an outstanding clinician. So the Pittsburgh motto here is truth and virtue. So this, if you come to Pitt, this is an amazing building here. This building is a church, but it's of all denominations. And it actually has the most stained glass of any building in the world. And this is, I think, still the tallest educational building in the world too. It's called the Cathedral of Learning. Just to give you an idea, this program has been around a long time. This is, I think, in 3.5, maybe 4 years, will have been around 100 years. And if you were to come to the University of Pittsburgh PT program 90 some years ago, or even 60 years ago, you would have had PT classes in this mansion. And if you were to come to the United States and be part of the PT program in the 1950s, that's what you would have worn. This is what you would have worn in the 1960s, and over here is what it looks like in the 80s. And I'll show you what some of our classes, the MS classes, look like over the years. I really like this saying. It says, attitude more than aptitude will determine your altitude. And the fact that you're here listening and learning about advancing your education tells me that you've got the right attitude to elevate to the correct attitude. All right. And the quote is from Hillary Hinton or Zig Ziglar, who's a motivational speaker. All of us want to get better. All of us want to do better in terms of our patient care. Whether you do it in your home country or you decide to do it in the United States, we all want to be good at what we do. And that's one of the things that we try to do at the University of Pittsburgh. We try and create better clinicians. Now, I can tell you that quite a few of our students go on and get PhDs. We've had students from India, Taiwan, South Korea, all over the place, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, who've gone on and gotten PhDs either here at the University of Pittsburgh or other places. So some have done that. Others have gone home and just been outstanding clinicians locally. So this is an older picture. This is several years ago, but you can see that we're we're a pretty large physical therapy faculty here. And if you take a look, at least I'm trying to think, Wei Ning is one of our MS graduates. Allie here is, she's I think Wei Ning is from Taiwan. Originally, he was a master's student. Allie is from Brazil. Sarah wasn't here. She's a full-time faculty member from Brazil. And we have Samanaz is another gal. She's not in the picture here because she went home, but she's, oh, here's Samanaz right here, originally from India. And we've had quite a few, as I said, quite a few of our faculty are graduates of the MS program. So what is it? It's a one-year program that immerses you in we are co-ranked #1 in the United States in terms of physical therapy programs. We try and update and really enhance your skills. And what we do differently than I think many other programs is we really work on your differential diagnosis skills. So and that's something that you may think, you know, but most of our students who come from other countries, that's the kind of the weaker aspect of their educational program. And by that, I mean that we often see people who come into the clinic who either don't have a diagnosis or they don't have any prescription per se from a physician in terms of what you're supposed to do. So you have to make those decisions. And that's one of the harder things, I think, for internationally trained physiotherapists to know about. And that's part of what we try and do really well. We have 2 concentrations, musculoskeletal and neuromuscular. We've just added a thing where people can kind of, well, not kind of, can do a subspecialization in sport physiotherapy that we're going to test out on our next cohort that starts in a couple weeks here at Pitt. And we've also got, in addition to that, we're trying to provide as many as are interested in letting them join the advanced vestibular physiotherapy practitioner program. And we only take 60 students globally from that program. In the past, we've got, I think it's represented 12 different countries and people from 28 or 30 different states. So that's something that I run on weekends, which is a virtual program with the last weekend being face-to-face. We've got people on the faculty who are known globally, and we truly have state-of-the-art facilities and have probably one of the largest, if not the largest PT program in the United States, with lots of research here. So the curriculum itself, it's you can pick the concentration. There's 32 credits minimum, and typically with that, plus if some people do some credits, for example, through some online learning, people are typically eligible for licensure with that option of the optional practical training for a year after, where people can learn a little bit more about PT in the United States. We've had many people who've decided to try and stay in the United States who've been successful and passed the licensing exam. We have a physical therapy clinical rounds. I kill people with information about additional educational opportunities here at Pitt. So there are lots of things that are free that people can go to. And truly, if you want to learn something, you should be able to learn it at this incredibly diverse university here. We are on the same campus as the medical school. We have lots of interdisciplinary learning, and we're really trying to integrate the master's program much more in with the Doctor of Physical Therapy program students. So it's a wonderful and rich learning experience. And these are just some examples of courses that we offer. They aren't easy, so you have to study hard, but you learn a lot, and hopefully you'll learn a lot more than what you knew when you came in. So it's not just a repeat of your entry-level program, because that would be a waste of your time and a waste of your money. And that's not what this is about. We try and bring real life situations into the course. And I talk about my patients all the time when I am teaching. So now I want to take an opportunity to just show you a little bit about Pittsburgh, and then we'll spend most of the time talking to each other, hopefully. So this is Dippy the dinosaur, and right next door to the university is the Carnegie Museum of natural history, and you can see he's wearing his pit garb. He, depending on what's going on in the city, sometimes he's wearing the professional football team's garb or the hockey team's scarf or whatever, but I just thought this was fun to show you. This is from an aerial view of the Cathedral of Learning. I actually work over here where I see my patients in this direction. And our school is off to the left. We're a little bit on the other side of the river. And this is a top-down view of that beautiful cathedral that I talked about, that church that is part of the University of Pittsburgh. If you would come to Pittsburgh, this is kind of strange, but I wanted to show you that we do get snow here. So some of my students, for example, from Singapore have never seen snow. And also I had a Brazilian friend who came up, and I can still remember the joy the first time she saw snow. She was outside and playing in snow, and it was pretty wild. But that is actually snow for those of you that don't experience where you currently live. And we do have changes of the season. So this is for some of you, you don't have changes of the season. And so this is something that we experience every year here in Pittsburgh, where the leaves fall down off the trees. And this is a summer view or spring view here of the beautiful cathedral there. And this is, I just threw in some pictures of what these classes look like. You'll meet people truly from all over the world. And everyone is new to Pittsburgh, which is really kind of special. And you all learn together and grow together over that year here in Pittsburgh. So depicted here, a large group from India. There's folks from, let's see, Jordan. There's somebody there from Saudi Arabia for sure. So this is just one of the groups. In terms of prerequisites, if you were to come to Pitt, what would you need to have? And obviously you have to be a physical therapist or physiotherapist with decent grades. You have to pass an English language proficiency, which you have to, I think, now for licensure in most states too. And in terms of the success potential, we look at, have you worked at all? We do take new graduates, but it's easier if you've had a little bit of experience anyway. We look at how much education you've had and your letters of recommendation, obviously. And you'll see quite a few pictures through the pandemic. We did survive the pandemic somehow. This is my class. They were awesome. We were the first group that were admitted back into the building to do our educational training face-to-face, and it was scary. We had assigned partners and assigned tables. Everybody wore these crazy outfits, even though we were outside, and they were just champions. We got to do the laboratory things before they graduated. It was scary for all of us, but we made it through, and I was so proud of this particular class. They were incredible. So I just wanted to show you a couple of pictures. This is Professor Timko on the right, teaching some mobilization techniques. So this is for the spine, the thoracic spine. These are there's 3 students here at my house at Christmas. I have always tried to invite people to my home at least once a year, so that they get to see what an American home looks like. This gal's from Brazil, and this gal is from Saudi Arabia and India. These 3 gals, and Kathy is one of our instructors. We try and show you new technology. So this is just, if you're saying, oh my gosh, what is this? I do musculoskeletal work, but this is, I put in pictures that I know. All right, so this is looking at eyes for eye exam for people with dizziness. We teach new exercises. This is a Brock string here with a couple of students. We're showing different technology. This is Dr. Harrell on the right here. And we're looking, this is a different way to study people's eye movements. We do a lot of eye movements to actually understand what's happening with the vestibular system, the inner ear. And this is just checking for range of motion here before she goes ahead and does a mobilization here with Professor Timko on the left. I do want you to know that we do laugh, so we have fun. So this is, we're just getting things organized, taking these pictures for y'all, and we were laughing like crazy. So we do have fun in class. And the same thing here with these goggles, because we're just really enjoying ourselves when we did these picture taking. This is an older picture, but these are some of my former graduates. A couple of them went on to get PhDs. Aziz went on and got his PhD. James over here, and here's another, here's Kifa. So at least 3 or 4 of these folks actually went on and got PhDs. And here's Professor Timko again, you can get an idea of the lab facilities here. We've got a really nice lab for PT training. And this is the last that I wanted to actually show you in terms of talks, because you didn't want to come and just listen to talks. You wanted to have questions answered. And so this is I just think, a beautiful picture here of the Cathedral of Learning. So I am going to stop sharing because, let's see here, if I can do that. I'm going to stop my share, and we're going to have Arunda come on, and we're going to take questions, because that's why you came, not to just hear me talk at you. All righty.
Sure, Dr. Whitney. And for all of our viewers, like all of our participants, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in chat. We're happy to take any questions from you. I have received some questions in private chat, so Dr. Whitney will get started with those first. And then in the meantime, if anybody has questions, they can continue posting. So Dr. Whitney, one of the questions is, knowing that University of Pittsburgh is a globally recognized research institute, can MS students participate in any research opportunities while they're pursuing their master's at Pitt?
Yes, actually, we were talking about that right before we got started. I had 2 students from Singapore that I actually asked them if they wanted to be involved in a project with myself and Dr. Harrell, and they said yes. So they're finishing their 2nd term, starting their 3rd. I'm putting in the proposal to actually get this approved for the IRB. I've got the Singapore Physiotherapy Association willing to work with us on this project, and they're actually going to be authors on this paper if we can get it published. We've got other students who collected data. Some people are stressed when they're going through the program with the studying and don't feel that they have the time to do that. So what some people have done is helped while they were a physiotherapy student in the MS program. Others have said, I can't do both. I'm going to do this on OPT. So we've had people do things from work as a research assistant or a teaching assistant, like you did, for that OPT program. So you get paid at least a little bit while you're studying for the examination, the physical therapy examination for licensure. And we've had other people who said, I want to do monkey work. So honestly, we've had one student from India. She actually spent a year training monkeys how to do VOR exercises, where you look at a target and move your head. So that was her job, and she loved it. And she went on and got a PhD in basic science. So we've had a myriad of, some people work in different labs, some people work in the clinic, but yes, in terms of research, there are a multitude of opportunities for people to participate in research. And some have actually started as an MS program student and then went home and worked. And while they're working, they're still working, like with Ali Bove. We have one of our graduates who's continuing to work with her here. And then she's actually planning on getting a PhD in Australia. So one of the things I try and help people do is be successful to get into a PhD program if that's their end game.
That is great to know. And for all the research minds in the chat or whoever is watching the recording, I think research opportunities are great. And I know that there's like this huge, amazing research lab on the top floor of the building, and a lot of students do pursue those opportunities as well. So that is great to know. And then another question is, knowing that this is a very hands-on program, do you offer any, like for a student who is interested in pursuing a residency after graduating from the program, do you offer any assistance with prepping for a residency?
I do. Actually, we were talking about this also before we got started. One of our graduates from last year wanted to do residency. So what I did was we did at least 2 coaching sessions, because culturally things are different. If I go to India, I have to learn the culture for me to be able to do an interview, because I don't know what the rules are. And every culture has its own rules. And just like in some cultures, you can't cross your legs. In some cultures, you have to point with different fingers because it's inappropriate to point the way I point, which I learned when I went to Malaysia. So in Malaysia, you point like this with your thumb out like that. But in the United States, you point like this. But what I just did is incredibly rude, apparently, in Malaysia. You don't do that. So just like that, those kinds of things, if you don't know those things and you go into an interview, you could really mess it up. So I actually spent we did it twice. We practiced once and then we practice again. And I sometimes will help them, review any of the the stuff that they write too, because everybody, including myself, think I write perfect English, but I still need somebody to check it and make sure that it is accurate. And so I will look at the written material, and I definitely coach people in terms of how to best show themselves so that they have an opportunity. Because if you're really quiet, that's okay. You just have to, there's just different ways that you can show yourself optimally, I think, in an interview. And it does matter that you understand the culture.
That is very true. Dr. Vinny, I'm going to take some questions from chat. Iman's question is, so is the course available virtually?
No, it is not. The AVPT program is, the Advanced Vestibular Physical Therapy program is, but even that has one face-to-face. The reason it's not virtual is because there's a lot of hands-on learning, and it's part of what we're trying to do is assimilate people into the culture too. So it's not just there's all kinds of things that you can attend here. And in fact, that's one of the negatives, but it's also a positive. So it's negative that you can't do it virtually, but it's positive because you get to be here, you get to live in a different culture, see if you like it, which is important, and also really get access to the instructors, which is a little bit more difficult, I think, virtually. There's pluses and minuses of both. And if virtual is the way to go, this is not the program to go to. At least we've talked about it, but we've even talked about doing it virtually and then mailing us over to, say, in India or Saudi Arabia or whatever. But we've never decided to try and do that yet. Yeah, it's a great question.
I would agree. The next question is from Bhargavi. She asks, hello, ma'am, it's good to hear from you. I wanted to ask when and how to apply for masters. Like, do you do it directly via the university's official site?
Right. So if you just go to shrs.com or shrs shrs.pitt.edu. So it's shrs. I'll put it in the chat. Yeah. So if you go there, let's see if I can figure out how to do that. Well, I'll have you do it. It's shrs.pitt.edu. If you go there, we take it applications until March, but the issue is that if you don't get started early for any educational program, you're stuck because of trying to get what you need out of the embassy. So typically people have to go to the embassy to get the visa. And when people wait too long, they miss the opportunity. And that's for any educational program that I think you want to do outside of your country. You typically have to make an appointment at the embassy. Isn't that what you had to do, Verunda?
Yes.
Yeah, and what I understand is that they're very backed up because of the mess with COVID. That it may take a while. So if you wait a long time to apply, we will still accept you, but you won't be able to get your visa. That's the problem.
True. So you said the applications are due in March, and then the programs start, and then the students usually hear back by April. Is that right? April or May?
Oh yeah, very quickly. So we try and get that out really quickly so people can make arrangements, because it's not easy to come up with the money. It's also not easy to make all those arrangements. But what we typically do is we have present students that are willing to help with, where should I live? How to, those kinds of questions. So we've got a nice pipeline for past students to help the new incoming students. And that's been a big help too.
True. And since we're on the topic of money, we had a question in chat. Are there any scholarships available for foreign trained PTs?
I wish there were. There are not right now. There are for PhDs. So every PhD student who sticks around at Pitt, their education, in order for us to admit them, we have to actually support them. So for PhD students, I can support people, but I can't usually support somebody who has a master's, who's working on their master's degree. Yes, so that's also a good question.
We have a question. So somebody says, hello, everyone. I'm from Rwanda. I'll be graduating in October. Is it possible for a fresh grad to get in, especially from Africa? Does the one-year graduating program give us the chance to sit for the NPTE as well?
So we've had several students from Africa who went through the PT program. I can't specifically answer that question because you have to have your credentials evaluated, which you can speak to, Verunda, more than me. So what people have to look at, not the two of us or even Pitt, but what this external credentialer has to look at is what you took similar enough to what an American physiotherapy student would take for it to count. And sometimes it counts, but maybe you don't have enough hours for it to count what is equal in the United States. So it's a really tricky process and a tough question. Brenda, do you want to talk just a little bit about the credential evaluation so that people understand how that works?
Sure, Dr. Whitney. So Pacific, first of all, thank you for joining us today. For the first part of your question, I agree with Dr. Whitney. Even as a fresh grad, you can absolutely apply to the PIT program. I remember in our class, we did have a lot of students who applied to the PIT program directly after finishing their bachelor's degree. So I think, Pacific, you should definitely consider applying if that's something you're interested in. Talking about your credentialing process, PIT does a great job of connecting you with the right people to go through the credentialing process. I've personally worked with a lot of PIT students to kind of guide them through this process, along with facts. So essentially, once you finish your course, you will apply to a credentialing agency like FCCPT or IERF, and you will have all of your education evaluated by the credentialing agency. And then once that is done, they will tell you that you're eligible to take the license exam. And you can just go ahead and take the license exam. A lot of times, if you go through the credentialing process, they might come and say, okay, you're lacking these courses. So you have to take these courses first before you are eligible to take the license exam. In that case, if you're lacking any courses, a lot of your PIT courses will count towards those deficits. So if you're lacking wound debridement, or if you're lacking a musculoskeletal course, you can actually use your PIT credits towards those deficits. If you have some additional courses that were not covered in your master's program, but you're required to take them, FACS can definitely assist you with figuring out how to fulfill those specific deficits. So know that you have a lot of resources available. And for the last part of your question, with respect to NPTE prep, again, there are a lot of resources available for foreign trained PTs to help them with their NPT prep. I personally, as a foreign trained PT, I chose NPT Final Frontier, which was a great resource for foreign trained PTs. So Pacific, just to answer your question, I think everything starting from your education, like through Pittsburgh, or like going through the credentialing process or prepping for the NPT, I think there are a lot of resources available to you. So I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Yeah, and we've tried at Pitt. I've done some independent studies with people. For example, one of the gals recently from Brazil, they needed to have some stuff related to differential diagnosis and being able to read MRIs, etc. And I figured out how she could get, because she needed it documented in a PT program. So we figure out a way to do that so it met the criteria for her to be eligible for licensure. So we've done some things like that more creatively recently to try and help people get some of the PT educational information that they need so that they're eligible for licensure.
True. And the next question for you, Dr. Whitney, is do students at Pitt get access to borrow books from the university library, and are they able to access digital resources and research articles?
Oh my God, our library is phenomenal. The answer is yes, yes. And in fact, I encourage people when they're paying tuition to download as many papers as they're interested in. Absolutely. I use the library probably every day of my life and finding papers that I'm interested in. So you can check books out of the library, although people don't do much of that anymore. They typically just instead of having the real book, they just virtually download the book. That's what I see a lot of my students do. I like to hold a book, but boy, it sure is nice to do that. What is it? Control F and find exactly what I'm looking for. So I like to find information that way, the quick way, but to actually sit and read it, it is nice to actually have a real book. And yes, there's phenomenal resources here. It's one of the best libraries in the United States, for medical at least, yes.
I would second that.
Mm-hmm.
The next question is from Merlin. Could you give us more information regarding the advanced vestibular program at Pitt?
Sure. So the advanced vestibular program, most of you probably wouldn't even qualify for, but I've allowed, this past year is the first time we've done it. We've allowed the master's students to actually participate in the course, and they've really enjoyed it. So two of them are in it right now. And what you would end up with is the master's, I think, takes you from here to here. But if you really want to get good at vestibular, it takes you from here to here. Because it's intensive and it's anything is what you make of it. But what folks have done, in fact, I can hear it wasn't Carmen, it was somebody else. One of the gals said, you know, I just can't wait to get home and try all this stuff. I'm so excited. Because I've learned so much, and that it made me feel great because what she was saying was that this was really, really worthwhile. Well, the program has, I think, about 35 faculty from all over the world, from 4 different continents. We have physiotherapists and physicians, mostly neurologists, but we have otolaryngologists or ENT doctors. We have an audiologist speak. We have sleep experts talk because there's an association between poor sleep and people with vestibular disorders. So it really takes it from way beyond. I think what I teach in the master's program is advanced, but it takes it even higher. So we have, for example, Dr. David Z, who I just idolize. He's like, wow. So Dr. Z wrote the neurology of eye movements, and he comes and speaks to us. So we have these world-known physiotherapists and also physicians talk for and share their knowledge in the advanced vestibular program.
Thank you for sharing that. The next question has multiple sub questions, so I'm happy to answer as well. But the question is, how is a TDPT or DPT different from MSPT? And would I face any problems seeking employment after the completion of my MSPT degree?
That's a great question. Don't know the answer. You can probably answer. You answer the second one first because you had a master's degree, so you can tell us about that.
True. So Shaina, to answer your question, no, you don't necessarily, we wouldn't necessarily face any trouble, any trouble finding employment with a master's degree. As far as you have successfully completed the NPTE, I think you should be good. And as far as your visa status and everything is fine, you should be good with finding an employment. talking about how TDPT or a DPT is different from MSPT. So first, let's talk about the difference between TDPT versus DPT. Shaina, if you're already a physical therapist from any other country, like if you're already a physio, you're actually overqualified to be a DPT because DPT is an entry-level degree. And I'm
Right.
guessing you probably already have a bachelor's in physical therapy, which was your entry-level degree. So you would essentially apply, you can either apply for a transitional doctorate of physical therapy, or you can choose to do a master's in physical therapy. TDPT programs are also great. If you do an online TDPT program, in that case, you're not going to get OPT. OPT is your optional practical training. So usually what happens is if you do the MSPT program, which is an in-person program, so if you enroll into any in-person program in the States, mostly you will get something known as OPT, which means, like, for example, Pitt offers 1-year OPT, some organizations offer 3-year OPTs. So what OPT means is you can work in the US for a year without an H-1B visa. And then after that, you will apply for your H-1B or your work visa. So the difference between the two is that your master's program, which is in person, will give you that OPT versus transitional doctorate does not give you that OPT. And the other benefit is because you're doing anytime you do an in-person course, you get a lot of hands-on experience, which if it's an online TDPT program, you might not get that hands-on experience, right? So those are the pros of selecting masters versus TDPT. I will be non-biased and I will talk a little bit about the cons as well. The only difference is it is, of course, going to be more expensive for you to do an in-person like master's program versus if you're doing an online program. You don't get the advantages of like getting an OPT or getting that hands-on experience. You're not going to get that, but it's going to be less expensive. So I would say, think about your long-term goals, think about where you want to be and what's important to you. Do you want that OPT? Do you want that hands-on experience? Or would you rather just go for a less expensive program? Either way, I think you'll be fine. But those are the main differences between master's program and TDPT programs.
Well said.
Thank you. And then somebody's question was, can we get research assistantship opportunities while being a student? I know we kind of we spoke about it a little bit, but Dr. Whitney, if you want to talk about that again, somebody's asking, can we get any research assistantship while being a student?
There are people that are paid to be helpers in the lab, in different labs. So that we see. We have some students, for example, and I don't know whether that happened when you were a student, Verinda, but we have students who are paid to work in the physical therapy research lab up on the 4th floor. So that's, but I think what you're asking is a research assistant that includes tuition reimbursement, and that typically is not offered. But can people work in a research lab as a student while at Pitt? Absolutely. We've got tons of opportunities like that.
True. Yes, I would definitely agree with that. I think a lot of students do pursue research opportunities as well. So that is definitely a good option. And I'm just scrolling through the chat and making sure we don't miss any questions. Okay, here's another question. I am Shaina Karmarkar from India. I just completed my final year and will be getting my degree after 6 months of clinical internship. I am doubtful if my university will provide provisional degree for the time being. And that's the same with the transcripts as well. Can I apply to the PIT program and get accepted before the official transcripts are submitted?
The answer is absolutely yes. Right. So what we do is we've accepted people who don't have it officially when they apply, which is fine. And you just have to have that before you start the program. That we need something official from the university that says, yes, you really are a physiotherapist and have met the criteria.
Yeah, that is good to know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to take the last question. It's not a question, but I think it's from Kanaka Shirali. She says, I'm proud to be starting this fall at University of Pittsburgh and very excited to meet Dr. Whitney and hopefully work under her guidance for vestibular research. So I think that's a great way to end this webinar.
Yes.
Thank you so much to all of our participants for joining us today. It's so great to see all of you here. And thank you so much, Dr. Whitney, for spending your Saturday morning with us. It's always a pleasure to meet you or e-meet you. And to all of our viewers, if you have any questions, I'm going to just drop our email in chat. So that's contact@faxpt.org. So if you have any questions, please feel free to send us an email. And Dr. Whitney, I don't know if you want to share your email. Is it swhitney@pitt.edu?
Just Whitney.
Oh, just Whitney at
pitt.edu.
pitt.edu. So if you have any questions about the PIT program, you can send an email to Dr. Whitney directly, or if you have any questions about the program or credentialing or the NPTE prep, or what resources are available to you as a foreign trained PT, like throughout the process, you can send us an email as well at contact@faxpt.org. And thank you again to our Fax PT team, Derek, Dr. Singh, David, Rekha, Ravneet, for joining us today. It's always so great to have a team that is so supportive and always available to help out and connect with the students. So thank you so much. And I hope everybody has a pleasant weekend.
Yes. Good luck to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.